So, good day everyone. So, for today, let's continue our topic about the structural functionalism. So, last time we talked about the different types of institutions. We have family, education, government, and religion. Now, let's proceed to discuss the last institution, which is healthcare. So, when we say healthcare, it is a social institution that is responsible for maintaining and improving people's physical and mental well-being. So basically, ang healthcare nagre-refer din siya saan? Sa mga organized systems, organized services, tas mga professionals na kung saan they work together para ma-maintain at ma-improve yung people's health. Now, ano yung mga kabilang dito? So, kabilang dito yung mga prevention, treatment, rehabilitation, and promotion of well-being. Now, ano yung mga healthcare na pwedeng ma-provide sa mga tao? So, ang pwedeng ma-provide nito ay mga hospitals, clinics, mga government agencies. They also have private practitioner, mga community health centers, at sa mga some cultures, they have traditional healers. Now, ano ba yung essence ng healthcare? Ano yung central purpose nito? Bakit ba ito nag-i-exist? So, una, para ma-preserve at ma-protect yung life. Pangalawa, to promote overall well-being. And pangatlo, ma-prevent yung illness. Now, let's proceed to other na topic sa structural functionalism. So, susunod dyan ay si Emile Durkheim. So, sino si Emile Durkheim? So, si Emile Durkheim ay isang French sociologist kung saan kinoconsider siya bilang important figure sa functionalist theory. Meron siyang ginawang theory which is yung social solidarity. Now, ano yung social solidarity? Pag sinabi natin social solidarity, so nakapaloob dito yung iba't ibang uri kung paano nagfa-function yung isang lipunan. Now, i-discuss natin yung unang solidarity, which is mechanical solidarity. Ang mechanical solidarity, matatagpuan mo siya sa mga traditional, pre-industrial. So, basically sa mga maliliit na society. So, ano magandang halimbawa natin dito? Yung mga barangay. 'Di ba? Maliit na komunidad 'yon. It consists of what? 30 to 100 families only. Now, dito, ang mga tao, they have unity in likeness. So, ano ibig sabihin nun? Ang ibig sabihin nun ay they have similarities. So, if they have similarities, so sa isang barangay, they have the same work, they have the same values, and they have the same shared customs and culture. So, ganun yung mechanical solidarity. So, ang keyword mo lang doon ay similarities and can be found in traditional and pre-industrial. Next, sumunod ang organic solidarity. Sa organic solidarity, ang keyword natin dyan ay modern and industrialized. So, mas makikita siya sa mga larger society. Now, it was mentioned here na based daw siya sa interdependence and differentiation. Alright, so sinasabi lang dito na kumbaga yung function is it work like the human body. So, organic. So, just like the other organs perform different functions, but they also depend on one another. So, ganun lang din yung sinasabi dito sa organic solidarity. Bakit? Kasi it is a type of social unity na could be found in modern and complex societies. Kung saan dito yung mga tao nagdedepende sa isa't isa dahil meron tayong iba't ibang specialized role and different roles sa ating society. So, basically, ang feature nito ay yung high division of labor. So, ano ibig sabihin nun? So, ang mga tao, they have specialized jobs. So, yung mga doctors, ano bang trabaho nila? They treat patients. Teachers, anong work? They educate the students. Next, farmers, anong work nila? To produce food. And engineers can build infrastructure. So, basically, sinasabi lang dito na no one can do everything alone. Kumbaga, interdependence, it becomes necessary. Kasi unlike mechanical solidarity sa mga traditional societies, di ba? Meron silang likeness, sameness. Sa organic solidarity kasi, nagbe-base siya sa differences ng skills and roles. And how these skills and roles could actually help other people based on their personal needs. Next, discuss natin si Bronislaw Malinowski. So, sa kanya ang theory na needs functionalism. So, naniniwala siya dito na every cultural practice has a function kung saan mas nakakatulong to sa lipunan para mas mabuhay pa. Now, ano yung main idea ng needs functionalism? So, inargue niya dito na yung culture nag-i-exist para ma-meet yung human needs. Because human beings, no, we have basic biological and psychological needs. Kung iisipin ninyo, yung bahagdan ng hierarchy of needs ni Abraham Maslow, no, halos katulad siya doon sa nais na makuha or ma-achieve ni Bronislaw Malinowski. So, basically, yung kultura kasi nade-develop siya, no, sa mga institutions kung saan they practice, no, para masatisfy yung mga pangangailangan ng isang tao. So, naniniwala kasi siya na in order to function yung society smoothly, no, may mga purpose kasi every culture. Now, ano yung mga types of needs? Yung mga basic biological needs na tinutukoy dito ni Bronislaw Malinowski. So, una yung nutrition, reproduction, health, shelter, safety. Now, ano yung cultural responses sa mga basic needs na to? So, una, food systems. Like yung mga agricultural, no, mga markets, no, we have family structures, medical practices, mga housing traditions. So, ganito yung mga halimbawa. Another example, sa basic need, we have food. Ano yung culture response natin doon? Farming, cooking traditions, markets. Last, yung derived need. Meron tayong social order. Anong cultural response natin doon? We have police, barangay systems, and laws. Alright, now let's proceed to symbolic interactionism. So, pag sinabi natin symbolic interactionism, it is a sociological and social psychological theory that focuses on how individuals create meaning through their interactions with others and how these meanings shape their behavior and understanding of the world. Now, sa society kasi natin, it is created and maintained through everyday interactions. So, people act based on the meanings things have for them. And these meanings are developed and modified through social interactions. Ano ba ang mga key principles ng symbolic interactionism? So una, human beings act toward things based on the meanings those things have for them. For example, a handshake means respect. A uniform signals authority. So kumbaga, it arises, no, yung mga meanings out of social interaction. So here, people learn what things mean based on how others use and react to them. Now, I want you to look at this picture. So, siya si Herbert Blumer. So, siya ang nag-coined ng term na symbolic interactionism. So, naniniwala si Herbert Blumer na in order to understand the society, no, it is of paramount concern to know the underlying concepts embedded in everyday communication and interaction. Sa kanya kasi, no, yung mga tao, nag-a-act sila based on the meanings objects have for them. So basically, yung mga meanings nag-emerge siya from social interactions and yung mga meanings nag-change siya through interpretation. Basically, lagi nyo natatandaan pag si Herbert Blumer, in-emphasize niya yung subjective meaning, yung human agency, and everyday interaction upang maging foundation ng lipunan. Now, let's proceed to George Herbert Mead. Si George Herbert Mead naman, hindi siya nagsulat ng kahit isang single book. But he was considered as the father of symbolic interactionism. Bakit? Kasi yung mga estudyante niya, yung nag-compiled ng mga lectures niya. So, ano yung core idea niya? Na yung self daw ay socially constructed. So, sa kanya yung konseptong the self, na kung saan hinati niya ito sa dalawa, yung I and me. Yung I, ito yung spontaneous, yung impulsive, unpredictable, at ang personal side mo. Samantalang yung me, ito yung socialized, rule-following side, no, shaped by society's expectations. So, halimbawa nito, gusto mong sumigaw sa klase. So, yun yung I mo. Pero you control yourself kasi nga yung school may rules. So, ayun yung me. Nakuha? So, dito, no, people learn to understand others by mentally taking the role of the other. So, dito, it allows you to anticipate how others will react to their actions. So, ano pang mga other example nito? Okay, iba pang example nito is sa classroom behavior. You want to shout the answer immediately without raising your hand. Pero yung memo, you stay quiet because the teacher expects students to raise their hands first. Now, when it comes to social media posts, you want to run on Facebook because you're angry, or you want to express what you feel. Pero yung memo doon, you stop yourself because you know it might cause drama or affect your reputation. So, yun lang yung I and me. Okay, now, etong picture na to, ang ring. Anong sinisimbolize yan? It symbolizes what? Love, commitment, di ba? Marriage, at iba pa. Based sa mga interpretations na meron kayo. Pwede din promises, di ba? Pero promises are meant to be broken. Tama ba? Now, next picture, yung owl. Siyempre, favorite nyo yan. Ano? Stem. Tama? So, yung symbol ng owl sa inyo ay stem. Pero, sa Greeks, no, ang symbol ng owl ay intelligence and wisdom. Paano naman, sir, kapag sa Latin American culture? So, ang symbol nila sa owl ay death. How about number 4? Sa Chinese culture, 4 ay unlucky. Pero sa ibang culture, no, very neutral lang siya. As in, walang ibig sabihin, it's just a number, and so on. Okay, so yung last topic natin is yung conflict theory. Actually, sa conflict theory, di ba pinag-aralan na natin yan under sa communism and Communist Manifesto ni Karl Marx. So basically, sa conflict theory, sinasabi lang dito na yung mga tao, they compete with each other kasi meron tayong scarcity na nararanasan. So basically, may kakulangan. Hindi pala kakulangan, may kakapusan sa natural resources natin. So nag-i-equal siya saan? Sa unequal social structures, pwedeng sa power and resistance. Sinasabi rin kasi dito na yung society nga ay shaped by the conflict, power struggles, and inequality. Di ba sinabi nga na ang kasaysayan ng lipunan ay kasaysayan ng tunggalian ng uri. So it argues here that social order is maintained not because people agree, but because those in power, no, they control resources, institutions, and laws. Now, si Karl Marx, no, napaliwanag na natin yan bakit siya naging father of communism, bakit niya naisulat ang Communist Manifesto, at bakit ang gobyerno ang nagmamay-ari ng means of production. Now, I want you to look at this, okay, yung mga middle classes o yung mga bourgeoisie, sa Tagalog, burgis. So, they are the capitalist class, yung owns the means, the production. Bakit? Kasi sila ang nagmamay-ari nito, private company nila yan. Okay? So, ibig sabihin, lahat ng pangangailangan nila ay meron sila. Sa kanila ang mga supplier nila, sa kanila ang mga employees nila. Di ba yung mga example natin dyan, yung SM Groups, Ayala Corporation. So, yung profits sa kanila, so basically, they control the wealth, politics, and social institutions. Now, ang other term natin for working class ay proletariat. So, they were known as the working class. So, they sell their labor to survive. Yung mga wages nila is, enough ba? Kulang ba? No? They have little power or control. Basically, mga anak, lagi nyo tatandaan na ang mga working class natin nagkakaroon ng rally or protest because they want change. Ano ba yung mga reason bakit sila nagpro-protesta? Siyempre, may malaking dahilan yan. Una, they are exploited. No? Nagtatrabaho sila, pinapahirapan sila, but their salary is not enough. So, ibig sabihin ba na hahayaan na lang nila na mangyari yon? Hindi. They are fighting for their rights as an employee. 'Di ba? So, dito pa lang pinapakita na may clashes na sa lipunan natin that society is not equal. Kasi mas may access yung mga bourgeoisie sa money, sa political power, at maging sa mga opportunities. Kaya lagi niyong tatandaan na pag may nakikita kayong mga nag-rally or nag-protest, especially ang mga labor union natin, no? Gusto nilang marinig yung boses nila at gusto nilang ma-experience o makuha yung karapat-dapat na karapatan nila para sa pagtatrabaho. So that's it, no? I hope na marami kayong natutuhan sa naging discussion natin and good luck sa mga magiging activities ninyo and quizzes sa subject ko. So yun lang, maraming salamat.